Hello everyone, welcome to yet another day in the clown decade. Today we are talking yet again about TikTok trends in London. And this time round, thank God, we are not talking about the human faulty fire alarm that is Mizzy, because this is the latest update from Mizzy.
I don't know if you saw that last video, but yeah, I did get sectioned. Got a section under Section 2 of the Mental Health Act. I was in a mental health institution for 20 days, bro. They violated my thing, bro. Bro, there was a violation.
So yes, Mizzy, the guy who was doing a whole bunch of illegal things, didn't end up going to jail despite all the suspended sentences, despite the continuation of the criminal acts. No, instead he was sectioned for 20 days, and now he's out. So they deemed that he had mental health issues when, really, he doesn't have mental health issues. He is just a criminal with not an awful lot better to do with his life, because he can get away with it, as he keeps getting away with it, as this shows. But anyway, he is not involved in what we are talking about today. Today, we are talking about this. Sorry for the quality, but every single screenshot of this is awful. What this says is Oxford Circus JD robbery. Dress code, need bally and gloves? I don't know what the hell a bally is. Luckily, I have Google to save the day. According to Google, it means a balaclava, and that this robbery would take place on the 9th of August at 3 PM. And according to newspaper sources, this was a Snapchat screenshot that was posted on quite a few TikTok accounts, but the one that they seem to be linking to is this JFTVYT channel, who seems to do little more than freestyle and give out £100 to anyone that can freestyle rap in Manchester and other cities, which, to be honest with you, as far as TikTok content goes, that's fine. And so, all sources of this Snapchat screenshot on TikTok have been deleted by TikTok, which is sensible of them, and probably due to the fact that the Met Police are in contact with them saying, please stop letting them spread this screenshot around, it is going to cause a riot. In fact, Sadiq Khan had something to say about this TikTok trend. He said, I am worried about this nonsense that we have seen on TikTok encouraging people to go to Oxford Street and Robert JD Sports Shop. The police understands why some people may be tempted to go to that part of London because of the TikTok, and encourage anybody who's seen it not to go to Oxford Street. Do not allow yourself to be sucked into an area that could be a high crime area. Part and parcel, as Sadiq Khan would say. It won't be a high crime area because the police work incredibly hard with the local community, with the retailers in that part of London, and with those citizens who want to have a good day out on Oxford Street tomorrow rather than being worried about this sort of nonsense. So Sadiq Khan saying, please don't go to this area, it's potentially going to be high crime, while at the same time saying it's not going to be high crime because of the massive police effort and presence that is going to be there. Anyway, here are some clips from the ground leading up to 3 PM.
And there's pure press here as well. Look at the press. So lots of police presence at JD in Oxford Street today.
So yes, the news got passed around, and indeed a lot of press turned up to see what all the commotion was about, and also sensibly the Met Police decided to increase police presence in the area because, believe it or not, when there is a trend that a place is about to be robbed, it's probably a good idea to have a police presence in that area. And there was no joke about the police presence in this area. There are at least 10 in that clip alone. There are police vans all over the street from what I can see, even mounted police along with them. But as you can see here, it seems mostly kind of, well, apart from that guy, normal people, press and police in the presence of Oxford Street around mid-afternoon on the 9th. But it didn't stay that way. Yes, a lot more people ended up turning up, not just normal people to watch, not just the press to get pictures and videos and all that. And as you can see, barely policemen in sight when it comes to that crowd. However, the police did not mess about this time. Yes, they can be seen here actually doing their jobs and actually arresting criminals, amazingly. Though I'm sure that because they are arresting black kids here, that will be yet more things to add to the Casey report about police institutional racism. Though I have to say it is good to actually see police doing their jobs and arresting thieves. Or alleged thieves, I should say, of course. So it looks like having a huge police presence didn't exactly deter the criminals. As we will go into detail later, this event actually seemed to last about 5 hours. But it did at least mean that the police could act swiftly. As you can see, the crowd is away from the shops at this point, and there's even mounted police there as extra deterrence. So looks like the police did a decent job with what they could. And there's plenty of clips going around of crowds fighting police, but the police doing a pretty good job of arresting the ringleaders of the raid. So it's one of those rare times I'm actually going to compliment the Metropolitan Police. Before we get to next week's stories, where there are even more claims of sexual misconduct and racism going on within the Met Police. So according to the Independent, for shoppers on London's Oxford Street, an evening of browsing and buying was thrown into chaos last night, with stores forced to shutter their doors as dozens of police officers descended on Europe's busiest shopping destination. Over the following hours, several shoppers were forced to leave stores as officers formed human shields around shops in anticipation of violence. A growing TikTok trend calling for riots and looting in JD Sports, shared by hundreds of teenagers, had caught the attention of the Met Police. The widely shared post began trending under the tag Oxford Circus JD Robbery, with users encouraging others to congregate at 3 p.m. and loot stores along the street. While officers descended on the West End street to prevent any wrongdoing, they were unable to stop the hundreds of teenagers who appeared outside JD Sports and McDonald's. Speaking to The Independent, one woman said she had been caught in the mayhem after leaving the Apple store and first questioned whether there had been a stabbing, because they are also common in London, so common that people question when there is a big crowd and a lot of screaming whether a stabbing has happened, because that's all part and parcel of a big city. As I was walking out, I saw a pretty big group of kids. I'm going to say about 50 to 70, she said. For a second, I forgot school was already out and assumed it was that. Then they all started running at once, and a woman next to me went, "Oh my God, do you think there's been an attack?" It was very hectic on one side of the street, the side opposite the Apple store. It was like there was nothing, and then suddenly a massive group of teens, and then a rush of police. I'd say I saw maybe 150 teens in total, between the groups on the street and in the tube stations. I think a lot of tourists were really scared, and the shops had all had a lot of security, but there was also people like me who just skirted around the groups or dodged them but kept on their way. So pretty big gathering of youths with not much better things to do with their day, so I'm obviously not saying all 150 of these teens were there to rob the JD Sports. However, some of them definitely were, and I think most of them were just there to kind of see what happens. A little bit like the Raid Area 51 They Can't Stop Us All event. So a lot of the rest of the eyewitness accounts were quite similar, just a hell of a lot of youths. They all congregate around JD Sports McDonald's, shouting in shoes, police come to break it all up, yada yada yada. But according to this article, it was by 8:15 p.m. that the situation was under control. So that means this was a 5.25 hour event, which is quite something, really. 9 people had apparently been arrested, while 34 had been issued with dispersal orders. 2 people were held in Essex for conspiracy to commit robbery, which it looks like that they are going to get convicted for that, following the online social media post, while others were arrested on suspicion of assaulting a police officer and going equipped to steal. Again, probably gonna find themselves on the other side of a jail cell, or possibly not, because for some reason a lot of our lawyers seem to think that prisons don't work. Well, I mean, there's less people in prison now than there probably should be, and society seems to be more crime-ridden than ever. A dispersal order had been put in place until 10 a.m. on Thursday, giving officers the power to exclude people from the area for 48 hours. It includes a number of tube stations, including Piccadilly Circus, Leicester Square, Charing Cross, and Covent Garden. It's a bit weird, because Covent Garden's quite known for being quite a nice area of London. But alas, if they're going to rob one JD store and the rest of Oxford Street, why wouldn't they disperse out and rob other places? So, in reaction to all this, Suella Braverman tweeted the following: "We cannot allow this kind of lawlessness seen in some American cities to come to the streets of the UK. Oh, take that, America. The police have my full backing to do whatever is necessary to ensure public order." Very good, again, like the big talk. I just wish that Suella would actually do something as Home Secretary to deal with these home affairs. "Those responsible must be hunted down and locked up." Absolutely. "I expect nothing less from the Met Police and have requested a full incident report." Well, good stuff. I cannot wait to see what that report says, because this does seem like quite the event in London, not as big as other events that have happened in London, especially the Black Lives Matter protests that seem to end up with quite a bit of violence during the pandemic when everyone should have been indoors trying to flatten the curve. And of course the big riots in 2011. Yet this is still quite a significant event, and I mean it was so significant people genuinely thought that a stabbing was going on, so it's certainly not nothing, as some leftists will try and claim that it is. It's not actually very normal to have these type of things in cities, and if it is deemed normal, then I don't want to live in that world. And people who actually live in London appear to have a very similar outlook. Here was one guy walking through Oxford Street having his say on the whole incident.
Yo, man's on Oxford Street, yeah? On my mother's life, I had no idea what the fuck is happening, yeah? Then I look it up. Now man, them are getting locked in the shops. Whoa. You guys, can I just come on here and say, you man are so ratchet. You're so ghetto, it's crazy. How is it Wednesday, broad daylight, and there is Jakes everywhere, and policemen everywhere? Because of you, man.
So this, and from the accents I'm going to assume that he is a London local, is clearly disapproving of all this, and clearly does not want to live in a city where other people are going to randomly turn up to places to plan to rob them in their hundreds. He's literally telling these people, right, you live in a city, we need to be quite civil about this. Can we please not have to live in a place where there are hundreds of policemen on the streets all the time because people like you know, he's talking about the youth, obviously, because it was mostly teenagers there, are going around not only just breaking the law, but openly stating on social media that you will be breaking the law. Because similar things happened in the 2011 riots. People were just openly saying on Facebook and Twitter that they were going to turn up and riot. And thanks to Theresa May being a terrible Home Secretary, the riot police were just completely unprepared for it. At least this time round, it appears that the Met Police actually prepared for it. So that was a good thing, and we did see a stop to what could have been a huge looting event. So thank you, Met Police, for doing your job. At least there's some civility here.
God, you guys, man, this is the craziest generation of youth of all time. Let's be real. When else has this ever happened, man? Just for no reason. You that man are running away. Yo, the man them are getting nicked in broad daylight on a Wednesday because you guys wanted to do TikTok trend. Yeah. Now man are gonna be posting 3 up for the next 21 years on their story. Because you man wanted to play TikTok trends, you know. Please, make it make sense, bro. They got the 7-seaters out. It's going to be a busy day for the Jakes.
As much as the guy's accents and mannerisms are very, very regional and very southern in this case, he does make a very good point there, which I will translate for you. He's basically saying that a lot of young people in that generation, it is very crazy. They will just openly state on TikTok that they are going to rob a place, basically signal to the police to turn up somewhere, and then the idiots will actually turn up, and then they're going to have to plea for their freedom for the next 21 years because they were idiots and tried to rob a JD Sports because TikTok told them to. And he's basically calling them idiots for that and essentially saying it's going to be a busy day for the police because they're going to arrest you all and you all deserve it. And it appears that this is quite a common sentiment for the rest of Londoners, because here is another TikToker expressing his disapproval of the whole situation.
Have you lost the plot? It's coming to the point in my life where this generation actually sucks. You're here to tell me that someone actually made a TikTok event just for you to shoplift at Oxford Street. It's like, I'm just deep in it. What is actually wrong with some people? It's like you don't want to make legit money. You don't want to go out your way to get a summer job, like cutting the grass, or even babysitting, or even sweeping the floor in the barbershop.
Here we have another London local doing a bit of a boomerism, but he seems like he's millennial age, just saying, look, why don't you kids go out and actually make some legitimate money so you can buy these things instead? And to be honest, I think this is a bit of a misunderstanding, though the point still does stand. A lot of these kids will just be too lazy to get jobs, Mizzy being a prime example of that, and instead will do crazier and crazier things on TikTok instead. And in this case it was openly saying they're going to rob a place and 100 kids turn up because they don't know what else to do with their lives other than follow social media trends. And don't get me wrong, everyone follows trends or will directly go against them. However, we are getting to a point where we have to tell these TikTok Zoomers that, look, you can actually think for yourselves. You can actually do something with your life. You don't just need to follow these terrible people that are giving you awful advice and starting trends that are going to land you in jail.
But you want to go out with your fake LV beanie, your fake Trapstar bag, and you want to finesse. Like, well done. I hope your mum and dad are proud of you. And you're out here trying to blame the police. Sadiq Khan, what did these men do? Because I remember last year when they went to the America candy store just to rob sweets. And now they're robbing stuff at JD. Where is this going to end? Is this going to happen every year? But guess what? None of these kids are going to hold themselves accountable. None of these kids are ever going to learn. And I'm pretty sure the same kids that were there last year are here this year. And they even added more recruits.
So assuming all the last parts of this person's TikTok are true, it's the same people doing this because, as he says, they're not going to be held accountable for doing this stuff. I mean, apparently last year it was a case that they were robbing a load of American sweet shops, which I've tried looking in the news. There's a few TikToks about it, but I didn't see anything major in the news. So obviously this year they've gone bigger and they've recruited more people. You know, it got spread out more. And obviously he makes the point that essentially people will call racism and say, oh, it's the police and Sadiq Khan's fault that I have to do this. It's like, no, it's their fault that you're getting caught and being put in jail because that's where you deserve to be put if you are robbing a store. But this seems like a very obvious sentiment in London, and this is the thing I want to point out here. Yes, a lot of people will say, oh, Enoch Powell was right, and yes, he was right, but the thing is that they won't understand what Enoch Powell was saying. Enoch Powell was saying that so many foreigners will come along that they will make their own colonies and that their values will be brought along and implanted on us. But as we can see here, clearly our values are also being implanted on people, which is that of civility, rule of law, and, of course, property rights. Because they're not necessarily valued everywhere else. I mean, a great example of this culture shock was when my mum and dad were in Madagascar. There are gangs of people who obviously rob tourists, and the way that there is justice there is that it is essentially vigilante lynch mobs. They will find these people who rob tourists and lynch them. And my parents did find that quite disconcerting, because obviously, what if you kill someone and it turns out they're innocent? Because there's not a particular trial with villagers like that in Madagascar. And there are places like this all over the world. But the thing is that immigrants that do come over and do want to integrate, they're the good ones. They're the 3 people we've seen today who've gone around saying, look, these kids are mental, I'm glad the police are here, can we please just live in a normal city? Because I know that this is going to be turned into a whole race thing by people from, say, the dork right and other areas of the internet, and I just fully reject that. It is clearly not a race thing. It is clearly due to a multitude of factors, partially including foreign cultures being imported over and not being integrated properly. It's also to do with the multitude of broken families that we seem to have in the modern world, and I don't know if it is more common in London, but it's certainly more common in big cities, of which, of course, London is one of them. And it's possibly also in part due to kids having far too much time on their hands these days, and not, as the guy said, having to actually get a job so that they can pay for things that they want to do. Because I don't think these people are stealing things because they're poor or anything like that. I think they're just doing it because they feel like they can and they feel like it'll be a bit of fun. Because essentially life is probably too easy for them. They've coasted through life, they've got to adulthood where they've been told most of their life, okay, this is where stuff gets real, you'll get a career, you'll have a way through life, and they probably don't feel like they can do that. They probably still feel like they're 12, 13, 14, and so they've been given ultimate freedom and none of the responsibility that goes with that, and so they just go nuts. And the few that go extremely nuts, well, they're probably going to be arrested now and then blame it all on racism. But I just wanted to make the point that there are also those that are perfectly well integrated. This is obviously a minority of people. If you're going to make it a race thing, I think you're an idiot. I just wanted to bring that up because it inevitably will come up. But anyway, Sadiq Khan had something to say about the aftermath. He said, what happened on Oxford Street yesterday evening was completely unacceptable. 9 arrests have been made and police investigations continue. I want to thank the police for managing large and unpredictable crowds and working with partners to help keep the public safe. So he's congratulating the police, which is all fine, but this problem will probably continue unless there is either a massive push to actually get these people in jail for an awfully long time, thereby deterring further criminal action, because, as the guy said before, it is quite likely it's the same people as last year committing the crime again. And theft and robbery have actually been quite a big problem for London for quite some time. And actually, amazingly recently, Sadiq Khan has come out with a good idea with the police to deter especially phone robberies by essentially asking phone manufacturers to make phones that have been stolen completely useless worldwide, just shut off their access when a phone's been reported stolen by the police. It's not actually a bad idea. The problem is that it's not actually solving the problem. It's solving the problem specifically of phone thefts. It's not solving the problem, however, of theft in general, because when people realise, oh, I'm not going to be able to take the phone and reuse it, they'll just find another thing to steal. It's a bit like when it comes to murderers, again, in London. They can't get easy access to guns, but they can get easy access to knives. So they ended up finding a different way to kill people. So I guess we can give Sadiq half a point for that. However, when it comes to other problems in London, Sadiq Khan would just much rather focus on things like this.
Bro, you need to lay down the ground rules straight away.
Is that what you did with that girl you took out in Shoreditch?
Well, nah, she ghosted me. Probably wouldn't know a good thing if it slapped her in the face. Someone I'd gladly do if I see her again.
Seems like a pretty standard coping mechanism. I was rudely, by the way, rejected by a girl. It must be that she doesn't know what a good thing is. She doesn't know how good I am. Obviously, there's a bit of hyperbole. I'd like to slap her because I feel hurt, but it's obviously not going to go at all beyond with a bunch of mates saying that he's quite annoyed about this situation, which I think is fair enough.
Mate, what did I do now?
Stop! Just stop, man. You can't be saying that, bro. That's serious stuff.
Obviously, I'd never do it.
Yeah, but just saying it is bad enough, man. You know that.
Yeah, I understand.
Bro, this guy can't defend. He can't.
Yeah, I'm not being funny, but if you said this to someone when they said something that they're obviously not going to do, you would probably be called gay or be told to shut up. It's pretty obvious that conversations like this happen with boys a lot. I mean, unironically, there is locker room talk, and boys are constantly hyperbolic with each other. I say I'm going to batter my mates all the time. Never have done it, apart from one time. But even after that happened, it was, a male bonding experience. We became better friends after it, even after being best friends for years. But this is Sadiq Khan's big idea. How do we stop misogyny? We stop men being men. When men are actually beating up women, they tend to come to their rescue pretty quickly. This has been done in plenty of social experiments. We know it happens. Men also know that other men get aggressive when they are annoyed at something. If that just comes out verbally, that is absolutely fine. So the thing with this campaign is that it wasn't just a few cringy adverts, and there were even adverts seen all over London, and they even took up ad space in Piccadilly Circus to make sure that men tell other men that they are not allowed to be hyperbolic and, ironically, they're not allowed to be emotional. No, the Mayor of London had to go even further and get famous comedian Ramesh Ranganathan to get his take on how men should behave when there are no women around.
I think it's not good enough to be quiet. If you're,
I call it allyship.
Yeah, if you're silent, you are complicit.
Silent about what? Silent about a guy being mad that he was ghosted? Like, that's fair enough. It's okay to be angry about that. This is such a pathetic attempt at social engineering.
All I'm asking you to do is if you see some sort of behaviour like that, you don't have to be big about it. Just, have a word. And if that word is just mate, then that's all good.
You know what? He's right. I am seeing cringe behaviour right here. This is ultimate cringe behaviour. So, Ramesh, mate, do you really think men are going to respond positively to any of this? Do you really think they're going to think, oh, someone just said mate to me when I was mad about being ghosted? If anything, that's just going to annoy them more. Testosterone makes men aggressive. They get angry. They like to show that anger and aggression sometimes. Believe it or not, it's not harmful to say something hyperbolic like that to release that anger. In fact, it's a lot better than bottling it up and actually beating a woman. Trust me, no man has ever not beaten up a woman because their friend went mate. Men have been stopped from beating up women by being put in jail and having the absolute snot beaten out of them by other men when they are caught abusing their other halves or any other woman for that matter.
When you're in a group with your mates, tend to be blokes, just having a word with yourself first to give you the confidence, and then challenging your friend, your mate, can lead to them changing their behaviour.
Again, this is what the deconstruction of masculinity has led to. It has led to people thinking that men are women. Women may change their behaviour when other women give them the verbal signals to do such a thing. Men are actually a lot better at responding to physical signals, and if someone does go too far, then, even just giving them a shove tends to send the signal that what you have done has really annoyed me, please stop doing that. I'm a very annoying person, I've had that done to me multiple times, it's made me a better person because of it. I know I've done it to other men too. I can guarantee that I don't think I've ever changed my behaviour because someone went mate to me though. However, not many people have said mate to me. Because I think everybody knows implicitly that it is very cringe. Typically when you go mate, it's because you've said something very cringe, or you have just heard a story that is absolutely ridiculous. Those are basically the only two times I can think off the top of my head.
I've been in situations where one of my friends has said something and I've not spoken up. And I've walked away from that going, well, I just didn't want to say anything. We've got to get to a point where that is not good enough, that I've done something wrong there. And I think that everybody needs to start thinking like that if somebody does something that is unacceptable, if you don't call it out, then in a way you're complicit.
By far the worst part of this advert is that there's absolutely no indication as to what the actual problem is. What is unacceptable behaviour? Because the title is Ramesh Ranganathan on tackling misogyny and violence against women and girls. And yet all he's saying is, oh, I've seen some of my friends say something. So are we actually unironically saying that words are violence? I mean, I know the Yorkshire police just arrested an autistic girl because she said one of the police officers looks like their lesbian nan, but I didn't think we were actually as far as saying that words are violence. I know some words are criminal, I always knew that, but saying they're actual violence, because that's what's being implied here, that's obviously mental.
I think we've got ourselves into a situation where somebody might be talking to a woman and they say something inappropriate and we don't call it out enough. So, for example, you know, just going, mate, saying that is rank. Or, mate, she doesn't want to talk to you anymore. Or, mate, you need to move away from her.
This is where a bit of a problem comes in. I mean, for a start, men will eventually realise, we are idiots, by the way, but we do eventually realise that some strategies aren't working, and in this case, it's, when they say something inappropriate to a woman, it's like, well, we need examples of that, really. Because is inappropriate even approaching a woman? Because that is the impression that Generation Z are actually getting from all this advice. Zoomer women still want Zoomer boys to approach them and make the first move. But at the same time, the whole of Gen Z, for some reason, well, not for some reason, we know exactly why, seem to also think that even approaching a woman is the creepiest thing you can do and will result in someone going mate in a very cringe way. And the reality of the situation is this is probably why Gen Z aren't dating as much as previous generations, because the whole dating game is completely inverted. It is now women's turn to make the first move, but women don't like doing that. And men, when they are approaching, and especially Gen Z, because they've clearly not got a lot of experience and don't have the chance for a lot of experience here, are obviously going to make mistakes doing that. And so here's the thing. What would be inappropriate behaviour? Being with a woman for far too long and she's clearly getting very uncomfortable? Fair enough. But you can do that a bit more subtly than just going, well, copying what Ramesh is saying here and going, mate, that is very inappropriate. Please come this way, you're embarrassing yourself. You can just go over to them and say, hey mate, I'm going to get you a drink, come to the bar with me, or something like that. There's much better ways at dealing with this than being direct. Men will realise after they've done that, after a bit of thinking, that, oh, that didn't go very well with that woman, I must have been doing something wrong, I need to change my strategy. Because it's actually pretty bad human nature to listen to advice and actually follow it, amazingly. People need to work these type of things out for themselves, and this advice from the Mayor of London and Ramesh, it's not very good. It's not very good at all. I think a better thing to do would be to actually imprison sexual deviants and violent men, rather than let them out on the streets and, you know, let them rob JD Sports.
I think that's something we should be doing more of, and I am imploring you to, whenever you see anything like that, you throw them a mate and you let your friend know if they carry on behaving like that, they're not going to be your mate much longer, okay?
I mean, unironically, they probably will respond better if you're not going to be their friend anymore, but doing it over the one example we've seen, yeah, that's obviously just mental. But this is the type of thing that Sadiq Khan would rather focus on than actually focusing on the murders going on in his city. And, well, when it came to this big robbery at JD Sports, I mean, it was about as good as you could expect with such a short-term preparation, so it's not too bad, but, I mean, ultimately, you get enough of these organised on TikTok quick enough, and it's going to overwhelm the police, and as the guy said before, they're probably only going to get bigger. But hey, you keep concentrating on what men are saying to other men when they're annoyed about being rejected, Sadiq. That's the right way to go about it. While that big Soho audience was clapping Ramesh for saying things that are just utterly insane. But anyway, that's how London's going at the moment. It's Still a bit of a mess, but it's not the worst case we've ever seen from London. The problem I'm having is that, well, if there are any more TikTok trends going on like that, I just don't think Sadiq Khan will be able to control it. I mean, Mizzy was sectioned for a bit, but again, he's been released, so no doubt he'll be in the news again at some point. Hopefully, Suella Braverman will actually do something as Home Secretary and actually push for these arrests that she is demanding, and we will actually see some harsh prison sentences for it, because conspiracy to do a mass robbery like that and incite possibly even mass looting and a riot, yes, that obviously should lead to pretty extreme sentences, you know. We're talking years in jail, possibly even a decade. But we don't live in my perfect world, and people would rather see these people out free on the streets, because taking away human rights, even if the person clearly rejects the idea of human rights, is just evil. I mean, that's what the Nazis did. But anyway, that's everything I've got for you today, so once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.